Live on WFLA Now. This is Run for Fun with running enthusiast Leigh Spann.
All right, welcome back to the Stream Center for this week's episode of Run for Fun. Of course, we designed this show to focus on the joy of running because it's really easy to fall into that trap of making exercise, really of any sort, the chore that you have to do. But learning to love it means that you'll keep moving and you'll stay healthy for many years. So I'm your host, Leigh Spann. I'm the meteorologist here at WFLA in Tampa, but I'm also an avid runner who's made all the mistakes. And I'm very lucky to have found a group of runners who show me what it's like to really love this sport. It changed me, and I'm very thankful for that. And of course, one of those people is my coach, Coach Maria. Happy hour to you too.
Hello. Yeah. Happy hour with the running shoes. I don't know if anybody can see this, but it has running shoes on it.
Yes.
That's my happy hour.
That's your happy hour. That's it. Running and exercising and doing good for your body is supposed to be happy. It's supposed to make you joyful.
It sure is. And it was happy this morning on the track with that nice weather too. I was loving it today.
Boy, cool, low humidity, but not cold. And
it was gorgeous.
I like to call that the Goldilocks of temperatures.
Yeah.
It's not too hot. It's not too cold. It's just right there.
I think it was 59 when we started. And it's so much easier to be relaxed. It was fun. It was a fun day.
We won't get that very much in Florida. It's going to start to feel real uncomfortable very, very quickly. So we wanted to first kind of get back into, we haven't talked about this in a while, but we still have our Strava running group. And if you don't know what Strava is, again, it's the free app you can download onto your phone. And then you can, it keeps track of your runs or your walks and things like that. But we use it like a social media. So there is a group and clubs, and you can go to WFLA Run for Fun. Right now there's about 276 of us. And you can ask questions. You can, just brag. Well, we love to see the Medal Mondays if you after running a race, and we had a challenge back to run a 10K back in January, so we're going to have some other challenges coming forward. So just go ahead and get familiarized yourself with Strava.
Yeah, I think in the summer it would be fun to do a mile challenge. Like how many miles can you run? Because in the summer it can be nasty to do the speed work, but if you can keep those easy miles going, that's like the key to success for next year. So maybe we just have a mileage goal.
And it really does. Yeah. I did several mileage goals during the pandemic because there wasn't any really reason to speed run or because there were no races. Yeah. And so it did keep you motivated. It's like, well, I can just go out there today. I can get 2 or 3 more miles in, and then you're doing the count up, and then you are more consistent. And even in a time when in 2020, when it wasn't anything to look forward to, it still kept us going out there. So hopefully we'll be able to
think about how much aerobic capacity you put in your aerobic capacity bank doing that. That's like a coach's dream, base mileage.
We banked a lot of slow running miles during that. We did one series called March through June, because it was March through June when literally everything was.
Yeah, I remember that.
So, and it was, we talked about, marching through, and so it's March through June. Hopefully now we are going to choose to do this and not be forced upon us by a pandemic. So at the top of every show, I generally say, that I've made all the mistakes. Maria, you've said it too. Before you learn, you make mistakes. And so one of the topics you wanted to talk about was just the top mistakes that you see especially when runners come to you and say, here's what I've been doing, you immediately can be like,
okay. Yeah. And it's funny because a lot of times I think that it's just common knowledge now because I've been doing it for so long. I'm like, oh, this is just common knowledge, but I see the same things over and over again, and the same people keep coming back, and I'm like, wow, like this really isn't common knowledge. It is counterintuitive, and people just don't know.
Because I vividly remember, we'll talk more about some of the mistakes, and thinking that I was doing it correctly. Yeah. And then because it's like, this is logically what, it makes sense for me to do. And then when you learn, you go, oh. And now that I've, 10 years have gone by, it does feel like common knowledge.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I was saying that all of these mistakes we talk about almost on every podcast in little bits and pieces. So we're just going to bring them together for one show so that you can always go back and reference. And one of the main things we want to do is not to shame anyone.
Yeah, no shaming.
No shaming.
We've done them all ourselves.
We all done. And so that you can start identifying which ones are impacting you. And then Maria
Absolutely.
can give you ways to help remedy that. And unfortunately can even talk about what happens if you continue making this mistake, what can happen. So again, not meant to shame. These are just very, very common mistakes.
Very common.
All right. So we'll start with the first one. I popped it up earlier, but here it is. Not paying attention to what Maria calls the low-hanging fruit, which is what the weather's like, how much alcohol you're drinking, how much you're sleeping, how fast you're going, all that kind of stuff. Why do you call that low-hanging fruit, first of all?
I call it that because it's the easiest part to fix without messing with your running too much. The one that jumps out to me is pacing. Like people, it's usually the first thing that I teach, because if you pace a run properly, then you can run it faster naturally and you feel better naturally. And I'm not sure why people just don't do that.
And do you mean negative splits? Is that what you're talking
negative
about?
splits.
Okay.
Like, honestly, like I would say the majority of people come to me with not knowing what a negative split is and not knowing how to do it. And then when I teach them, they feel so good that they become negative split crazy. And then they negative split every run. And that's not the goal. Like we definitely... one thing that I've learned over the years is like when you're running easy, you have a tendency, obviously the first couple of miles are always going to feel hard. And so you always want to go slower, but then we have a tendency to push the pace and do those negative splits. But the reality is some miles should feel good and some miles should feel bad. And if in some easy runs, it's okay to go up and down when you're running. You don't have to do a negative split on an easy run every time. But when you're racing, when you're running, like, the goal should be to start as slowly as you can and finish faster.
And this is where we talk about it being counterintuitive. The first thing I thought was, well, if I can go really fast and bank all this time, then when I get tired and I slow down, I'll still end up with a really good time. What I didn't realize is how I'm just burning my body out.
Yeah. I've had numerous people that could not get this concept in a marathon, and I literally had to jump in the first part of their race and hold their shirt so they wouldn't do it, because they just couldn't do it on their own. Some of it's self-consciousness. Like we're a little self-conscious that we're not going to have it at the end. So we're like, oh, let's push it in the beginning. But you really have to trust the process and trust yourself. My old coach, when we were running easy runs, she would literally pull my shirt. Like, no, you're not going fast on this run. Like, not today. Because I was just young and wanted to go. Like, I felt good. I can go. I can do it. But, and then she'd avoid topics with me. Like, if I got mad, then I'd like run faster. And she's
yeah.
Nope, we're not going to talk about that today. Today's not the day we're going to talk about that. So, it takes a little bit of learning, but, it is kind of the low hanging fruit.
I mean, and it
like if you change nothing in your running and you just change that, you're going to improve.
Yes, because and also in a race or even in any run, if you're doing this negative split, then how much better you feel at the end.
Yeah,
you think, oh, that it's gonna feel harder, but because you have this, as opposed to limping across the finish line, you have this joyful, I'm racing across the finish line because I have this energy left.
Well, and it does become mental, because when you're passing people at the end, you're mentally like, oh, I'm doing great. And that actually encourages you to go faster. So if you're being passed, it's defeating and you're going to slow down. Or if you start to walk, then we definitely didn't pace it correctly.
And that can happen for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
And then so we'll just kind of touch with the other one. Obviously, weather for me. I mean, when it's hot and humid, you're not going to be able to run as fast. And just know that.
And people just fight it all the time. Like they just fight it, especially in the summer. Like, well, I used to be able to run 10-minute pace on my easy runs, and now it's 10:30 pace. Oh, freaking well. Who cares? Just run easier. It's not going to make you slower. It's okay to slow down. Easy pace, I've said it a million times, should be a feeling, not a pace. So don't get caught up in, I have to run X pace. And if your easy run pace is anywhere close to your 15K pace or your half marathon pace or your marathon pace, it's too fast. So don't do that. Alcohol's another one. Alcohol, like If you're struggling with recovery or your runs stink, like back off on the alcohol. That seems like relatively, I'm never going to be one that says don't, everything in moderation, but it really does not help your running. So if you're feeling lousy and the goal is to get out there and have fun, then limit the alcohol. Sleep, obviously, like this week with the time change, it kicked my butt. Like, I'm not even kidding you. I tried to go back to bed early and it kicked my butt. And Monday morning, I was planning to run 6 miles because it was going to be 45 degrees in Jacksonville.
Nice.
And I was so excited. And I didn't sleep. I slept 5 hours. I got a 52 sleep score and I did not run, guys. I didn't run. I still couldn't get up. Like I couldn't sleep in. So I just got up. I did my normal routine, had coffee with my husband, watched the news, went for a walk, and then I lifted my upper body later in the day, but I didn't do any cardio because I knew that was just going to bring my cortisol up too much, and sleep is important. And then I took a nap.
Because again, the counterintuitive part is no matter what, I'm going to get out there and run. When they told me to show up every day, but you have to prioritize these other things that if
and I show up every other day.
Right.
So like if you're showing up, we talk about consistency a lot. If you're showing up all the time, that's when something like this happens, you can take a day off and not feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Like half of the job that I do as a coach is telling people it's okay to take today off.
Yeah.
Listen to your body. Most of my people are going out every day. They don't need to have somebody tell them, go hard.
Yeah.
Don't need to say that.
You need to tell them to rest.
Yes.
Sleep in. Get the
I told
extra
2
sleep.
people this week already. So,
and if sleep is an issue, there is a prior Run for Fun episode that we did all about sleep and the cascading effects that can happen to your body and ways that you can help to to get yourself
actually,
to sleep.
My neighbor, I meant to tell you the story. She was out the other day walking her dog, and I came out of the house and she said, I'm getting my sunlight in my eyes before 9 o'clock that I heard on this amazing podcast called Run for Fun. I was like, oh, good. It is my neighbor and my mom listening.
Yes. Well, my mom too. So total of 3. So again, take care of the low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
There's a whole,
take care of it.
There's all kinds of things that go, there more that you can do. But if you can just even negative split more often and get a little more sleep, you'll feel better.
Yeah, you're going to feel better and your runs are going to be better.
Yeah.
And isn't that the goal, right?
Yeah,
so you don't have to hire a coach to do that. You can just do that.
You can just sleep more. Okay, let's go to number 7. This is one that as I age, I do fall more into a trap than I've ever fallen into. So it's comparing too much to your former self or others. Because I feel like I've been pretty good at not comparing myself to others.
Yeah, I don't compare myself to others either, but I do compare myself to my old self a lot.
My old self. And so first of all, what kind of trap, why is that an easy trap for people? And then how can we get past it?
Well, it is a trap mostly when you're comparing yourself to your former self. It's very dangerous because we're like, oh, that worked for me back then. And while it might have worked for you back then, it's likely not going to work for you now. Like the older you get, the more you think things have to change and your body adapts to things. So you kind of have to find out what your new normal is. It doesn't mean you can't perform as well. It just means that you have to change things. The older you get, it requires more recovery. So you have to have more rest days. You have to be better about your sleep. You have to kind of do that. When you're 20 20 to 30, you can get away with a lot of stuff that's bad and you'll get away with it. But once you get 35-ish, you're going to have to pay attention to stuff. So if you're comparing yourself to how fast you were in your 20s and you're trying to hit those times on the track, it's not going to get you physically fit. And so you have to constantly be training yourself where you are in order to get faster or stay the same. Like people think it's a big deal to just if I'm not getting faster, I'm plateauing. I'm like, if you're getting older and you're plateauing, you're still winning. Like if you're staying consistent and you're not going the opposite direction because you're doing something wrong, that's what I see a lot. People go the opposite direction. If you're just staying consistent and strong, then you're winning. Of course, we want to get better, but you're still winning to stay consistently strong.
And you are getting better because
yes,
it's getting harder.
Yes,
and so to stay the same, you are actually getting better. And that is a hard pill to swallow. I say that from my head. My
Yeah.
heart sometimes doesn't feel that
Oh,
way.
absolutely. I have done a lot of work on going to effort based instead of like trying to hit old times in the track that I used to hit. Like I used to do 800s a certain pace. And so I actually avoid that workout now because I'm like, I did it so many times when I was younger and physically fit and going to Boston and all that stuff that it kind of triggers something in me. So there's a million other workouts. I just do other workouts, or I'll do an effort based workout. That's a good way to get rid of that comparison. And just giving yourself grace. Like grace there's nothing wrong with giving yourself grace. There's that go hard or go home mentality. We don't need that. That's not helpful. So give yourself grace. The comparing.
And we've also talked about the seasons of life.
Yes.
This season may not mean that you're never going to be faster again. It just means that right now, is different than the season that you were in before. And if you compare the two, you're only going to get frustrated.
And you got to be careful with like riding the line of like giving yourself an excuse or like being gentle. There are two different things. If you're making excuses for yourself all the time, that's a different story. But if you're being consistent and you're being strong and you actually know that you need a little bit of grace, you do that. The comparing yourself to other people, that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
That makes me a crazy person because then you have people like trying to race each other on Strava. And I see a ton of people comparing their easy runs. And that makes me a crazy person because at the end of the run, when people are like, well, my easy run pace was blah, blah, blah. My easy run pace was blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't want to hear about your easy run pace.
Unless you're talking about how slow it is.
Yes.
That's what she wants to
if
hear.
you're bragging about your easy run pace, then that's awesome. I really you can change your mindset around that. You can. I did.
Mm-hmm.
I was forced because when I came to Florida, my easy run pace was like a minute slower than it used to be when I lived in Boston. And so I kind of had to come to grips with that. But I didn't fight it. And now I'm like, I kind of like feel this, it's my inside secret where I'm like, oh, I can run slow and I can still show up on race day and kick your booty to the curb. And that's so fun. And people like wonder, well, or people will see me on Strava and they're like, oh my gosh, she runs so easy on her easy days. But wow, she can actually run some decent workouts and stuff like that. So you just kind of have to reframe that and try. And if you are a person that struggles with that, like stay off Strava. Like Strava is brutal for that. Facebook is pretty brutal for that.
Social media in general.
Yeah, if you struggle with that, some people don't struggle with that, then be yourself. But if you do struggle with that, limit your time on social media because that comparison will actually disable you.
Yeah.
It will make you do things that you shouldn't be doing, and then you won't improve, and then
you get hurt.
You get hurt, and they win.
Yeah. Oh,
like
and they win. Even worse.
Like, I hate that. I'm like, you just let the person you compared yourself win because you just couldn't get over yourself, and I can't stand that. So that is I see that all the time.
And do you see it when people run in groups together, or do you see them really looking at people that maybe they're not running with on a regular basis? Or
I see both. Yeah. I see both. I think it's pretty dangerous to do it to somebody that you don't know anything about because like oftentimes people will compare their easy run pace or how somebody else is improving, but they won't compare everything else they do. And I'm like, well, wait a second. If you're comparing just runs, what is that person that's doing better than you eating? Are they eating more calories than you? Is that person sleeping more than you? Does that person have less life stress than you? Does that person have an easier job than you? Does that person have another marriage? Like if you're going to compare, you have to compare all of those things. You can't say, oh, well, she's getting faster than me, but we run all the same paces and we used to be the same paces. Well, what are they doing that you're not doing? Because typically it's only 20% the workout, right? So it's 80% the low-hanging fruit that everybody doesn't want to do. So you got to kind of like, the comparison is just you're only comparing one aspect of it. And that's really dangerous.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't do it, even though it is very hard. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you've mentioned this one before. So the go home or go hard or go home mentality, because that is in our society.
Mm-hmm.
So
people say it all the time.
Easy to then put it into everything we do: work, life, family, running.
In America.
Yeah.
In America, we are, and I think there are some good qualities to that. Yeah. Like we are hard workers, and I like hard workers, but you can work hard and be smart. Like we should be work smart or go home. That's what I like. Work smart or go home. I'm going to change that phrase because we need to be smart about how we work or we're not getting the benefits. So I'm really confused at this. And a lot of people, if they go hard, they go hard, and then they actually end up having to go home because they're just beat up or they're like they have injuries and if you're seeing a ton of injuries all the time, you need to look at why, because there are reasons why. I mean, sometimes we have injuries and you can't avoid them. I mean, it's a high injury sport, but we should be trying to avoid injuries at all costs. And if you get a reoccurring injury or something that keeps bothering you, there's something wrong. Like it's either your form or you're going hard or going home too much. And so you just got to pay attention to that.
And so what is the fix?
I mean, I think listening to your body is important. Women actually do better than that than men do. Men have more of a go hard or go home mentality. I mean, they're supposed to be the hunter gatherers, we're kind of designed to do that. So if you can listen to your body a little bit more, it will happen less. It just happens less. Like if you pay attention to the signs, people just go hard and don't pay attention.
And it's fine to go hard on race day.
Yeah, on race day.
Then you go home and celebrate.
Yeah, that's exactly.
But every day is...
Every day, day after day. I mean, that doesn't really work with anything in life, right? It's not going to work at your job because you're going to get burned out and hate everybody.
For very short periods of time.
For very short periods of time. And we're going for the long haul in this sport. So, don't do that. I don't want to see you go home because then I have to come get you.
And then all the work that you put in, because then now you're injured or you're burned out, you have to start over.
Yeah, and nobody wants to start over. No. That's no fun.
We want to stay consistent.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're sort of
similar.
These are all kind of similar. So you're racing your workout. So if you work with a coach, this is something that, as people who may or may not have coaches, I always just kind of came up until I started working with Maria. I'd say, okay, today I'm going to run fast. Today I'm not going to run fast. And that was sort of those were my two workouts. I'm going to run fast today and I'm going to not run fast today. So, but when you're given a workout that's like, you run fast for this amount of time and then you run slow for this amount of time, or you're running, around a track and you run, as Maria said, like 800 meters for multiple times. Those are things that I think that people without coaches don't even understand. So,
absolutely.
So why don't we explain a little bit about what kind of a coach's workout would look like?
Yeah. So we have different speeds. People that come to me are almost always either one speed, which is medium speed, which is the one I don't love. Although I do give workouts at medium speed sometimes.
You have given us black hole faces.
As long as you recover before and after, it actually can be a good workout. But that's not what I see. Typically, we run fast or slow. And we have all these speeds. And also people's 5K speed is the same as their 10K speed is the same. And that's not the way that life works. It should be your mile speed should be faster than your 5K, faster than your 10K, faster than your 15K, faster than your half. You should be a little faster with the shorter distances, each one. And so when I design a track workout, I'll say, and I used to give paces, and that kind of confused people. Sometimes I give paces, but when I say 15K pace, people don't get as upset as if I give them a number that's slower than they want to run on the track, which is so funny because they're like, oh, that's just my 15K pace. But so anyway, it's kind of a mental thing I do. But we want you to run 5K pace, 10K pace, 15K pace, half marathon pace. Some workouts are marathon pace on the track. All of those get us in shape metabolically for different things. And if you're not using all of those tools in your toolbox, you're missing out on a whole bunch of metabolic adaptation that you can get, and that will make you a lot stronger than just running fast all the time. Our VO2 max doesn't change that much, and that's what we get from running as fast as you can. So if you are a 100-meter runner or a 200-meter runner, then those workouts matter. But we don't have a lot of 200-meter races. Yeah. So we have to metabolically train our body. Lactate threshold there's no limit on it. You can get as fast as you want at lactate threshold. If you went to the track and ran lactate threshold every single time, which is It's the pace that you can hold for an hour. So if your 10K is 45 minutes, it's a little slower than your 10K pace. If your 10K is an hour, it's your 10K pace. It can be for the elites half marathon pace on the track, but that is a pace that we should be running a lot more on the track, which is not all out.
Yeah.
It's not all out.
Yeah, because I can't run all out for an hour.
No, no. And so people feel like it's not hard enough on the track. If I'm not going to the well at the track, I'm not doing anything. And honestly, I had a coach tell me once, and it just made so much sense. I've had 2 coaches tell me this actually. You should always leave 1 rep on the track. So if you feel like you did your track workout and you could do 1 more rep, you did your track workout right. Because you're not like beating yourself up, and it won't require as much recovery, and you're actually getting physically fit from that.
So, so interesting that you were saying don't race the workout, but I'm going to give you a 5K pace.
Yeah.
So explain why that's not racing when you're giving them a 5K pace.
Well, and to be honest, like this is kind of controversial because there's a lot of coaches do a lot of different things, but in my experience, like if you're going to do 5K on the track, I never really want you to do 5K pace more than 2 to 2.5 miles. If you're doing 5K pace for 3 miles, then you're racing your workout.
Then you've just raced.
Yeah. Same with mile pace. You don't really want to do too much more than like a mile at that. You can do many more reps when you're doing 15K pace or marathon pace on the track. You can do them a lot longer. A lot of times, because I'm teaching people how to do these different speeds, I'll say 10K pace mile, then I want you to do 2 800s at 5K pace, then 1 400 at mile pace, so people know their speed. And then when it gets warmer, I say 5K pace effort.
Very different.
Because it is different. Like the effort will be a slower speed, but the effort will be the same. So we learn those things on the track, and it's really kind of cool when you realize you have more than just 2 gears and you have all these other gears that you can work on. And if you're not feeling good one day, like you're just not feeling the best, like this morning I was like, I haven't slept well. I'm just going to go out there on the track and I'm just going to like sneak up on my workout, which I do a lot. I sneak up. I like sneak up on a pace that like I'll start with 10K pace and then kind of ease into 5K pace. And if I feel good, then I push a little harder. If I'm not feeling good, I just stay there. And you're still going to get the benefits if you stay there. If you're going to the well every track workout, there is a limit to how fast you'll get.
Because you can't recover
You
to
can't
get back
recover.
out there.
Nope.
All right. So so I would say that was the thing that I have learned, maybe that I went from 0 to learning something about what a workout is as someone who had never had a coach before I had a coach. So I just, didn't know that existed. I don't know what I thought when I looked at the Olympic people running the sprints and things like that. I don't know what I thought they did. I did, I don't know how, I don't know that I even thought, how did they train for this? So
I don't think many people think about
that.
Which is true because we're so different than them, right? So we're like, we can't even see ourselves like that. So
they are doing similar workouts.
They do.
Faster than us, but similar.
Yeah. And a lot of people are like, well, they do so much speed work. I'm like, yeah. And they also run 120 miles a week. So percentage wise, they get to run a lot more speed than we do.
A lot of miles. Lot of miles. Too much too soon. And you probably see this after people have already come to you and because they've already done too much before they got to you, I'm assuming. Yeah,
usually there's a bunch of rules on how to increase, and there's exceptions to every rule. So it's hard for me to say.
Guidelines.
It's hard for me to say like you can do X amount. The typical rule is don't increase more than 10% a week, and your long run should never be more than 30% of your miles.
Okay, so when you say 10%, you talking about in the number of miles?
Yeah.
Okay.
Number of miles that you've run in the week. You don't want to. And then if you're older, I would do 10% and then hang there for a couple weeks before you go up again. I always think let your body adapt more than less because then you're less likely to get hurt. The 30% rule depends on if you're a beginner or a, intermediate or advanced. Like the advanced runners can do more than that. But for the most part, if you're a beginner or intermediate, don't make your long run more than 30% of your mileage because that's just asking for an injury.
So let's give numbers out. So let's say if I had a 10-mile run on a Saturday, so you think it? So you're saying it should be 30%? Am I
Yep,
remembering this
30%.
right? Okay, so I should have run. I'm not doing very good with math.
That's backwards the way that I do it.
Okay, so go the other way.
So I usually do, like, if somebody is running 15 miles for the week, then 10% of that would be 5 miles. So 30% of that would be 15. No, that's not right. 15 miles is 10% is 1 mile.
Yes.
So it shouldn't
1.5. I guess,
yeah, it shouldn't be more than 4 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, your long run, which
So-
is not very much.
Right.
So if you want to have enough miles to, like, hold you up to that long run, because otherwise you're just going to be beat up.
Mhm.
It isn't like a lot of people will train for the marathon and be like, I'm just going to run once a week long. It actually has been proven in research that the person that runs more daily runs does better in a marathon than the person that runs one long run a week.
I could see that.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It is kind of crazy, like, because you would think, like, you would just adapt.
Right. Yeah. Well,
But
again, a lot of these things are counterintuitive. When you look at
Yeah.
the science, they work differently than what you're just.
yeah, because the daily runner is used to running on tired legs, and that's really all the marathon is, running on tired legs. So the daily runner is kind of used to the, daily impact of it.
Yeah.
So don't just be that, I'm going to train for a marathon and run one long run a week. That's just not a good idea.
So build that base. Don't do too much.
10%,
Yeah. Grow slowly.
30%.
Yeah.
Try to remember that.
Yeah. All right, we got to number 3. Oh, it's cut off a little bit. Choosing a marathon for weight loss.
I see this.
This blew my mind.
So
I never
much.
would have thought that someone would do this.
Well, I think a lot of people actually don't admit it till the end.
Oh, well, that's true. Yes.
They'll be like, oh, I lost a little weight running. Now I'm going to run a marathon and I'm going to lose weight.
And I won't tell anyone.
Yeah,
I'm not going to tell
exactly.
anyone. Yes.
And honestly, there were many marathons that I lost weight training.
I've gained weight every time.
Yeah, I typically lose weight, but that's because I increase my calories as I go. And so my body just gets really running efficiently. And so I'm just in a slight deficit usually. So I do lose a little bit of weight when I'm marathon training. But I also, like, when I'm not marathon training, I let myself gain a little bit of weight so that I have a little bit of a, cushion
Yeah.
to lose weight. I'm not, like, constantly trying to lose weight.
Right.
I'm allowing the running to help me lose weight, not my fueling. And so a lot of people aren't doing that. They're trying to restrict their fueling and try to run a marathon, which is a recipe for disaster.
And, when you get
Yeah.
into those higher mileage, your body is craving
Yeah.
food. Like, it is, the running joke is, okay, I'm at the eat my arm stage. Like,
Yeah.
if it's in front of me, I am going to eat it.
Yeah.
And that's a real cue that you need to eat.
Yeah,
more.
and there's two things that happen. One is that somebody does eat too much and they gain weight, and I would every time rather see that than have somebody restrict and lose weight. Like, you're going to be better off in your marathon if you're just a little bit overweight and have fueled yourself properly than if you are underweight and underfueled. People think I'm crazy about that because of that book, Racing Weight.
Oh, I don't.
Matt
That I haven't read, and
Yeah.
I will probably now not.
Matt Fitzgerald, who I love, he coached me. He is one of my favorite humans. I love his 80-20 book. Racing Weight messed up a lot of women.
Really?
Because it talked about how runners are supposed to be at a specific weight, which is actually true for elites. They will perform better if they are at a certain weight for the most part. It is not true of recreational athletes because recreational athletes don't have the same body composition and we aren't going for the same things. So because we have so much other life stress that we have in our life, when you restrict and marathon train, it adds so much more cortisol that it affects the way that your hormones work and it affects the way that you recover from workouts, and you actually will store fat if you do that. So
it would do the exact opposite of what you were
Yes.
trying to do, is what
Yes.
she's saying. So, and then you are you're not going to do well in your marathon because you're not fueling enough. But
Yes.
then on top of it, you may actually still be gaining weight.
Yes. And it's so funny because I was talking about this with Jen this morning, Jen Patrica. She's a great nutritionist if anybody needs one. We were talking about how everything on Instagram is like calories in, calories out, calories in, calories out. And while that there is a certain element of that, for runners, we're such a small percentage of the population, and it isn't true for us because our metabolism will adapt to high mileage and low calories pretty quickly and really trash us. So like we can't listen to the regular information that you get on Instagram. You want to listen to like Jen or
and it's real easy to do that.
Featherstone.
Follow the people who are runners. If you're getting your information from Instagram, which a lot of us do.
Yes.
I don't follow any sort of other exercise people. I only follow exercise, running nutritionists and running coaches because they're going to give you what the tiny little percentage of people who are trying to run 26.2 miles.
Yes. And every once in a while, you'll get somebody that's like a random person that didn't eat their whole marathon and had a really good marathon. They'll be like, I didn't eat anything. I don't know what all these people are talking about. Well, I will still argue that if you ate, you would have run better. Like, I don't care how great you did. You were running under potential if you didn't fuel your marathon. So be careful about the little like anomaly that you see that you're like, oh, well, don't jump on the anomaly train, right? Like follow the collective, follow the people that have the, knowledge of runners, because runners are very different and we are a very small population. And so we're not studied that much. So the people that do study us really do study us. Yeah. So they're there for a reason.
And so if you just want to lose weight, don't choose the marathon.
Yeah, no.
You can get out there and you can run 3 and 4 miles a day and a couple times a week and perfect.
If I'm trying to lose weight, I actually restrict my running. Like I'll run 30 to 45 minutes and no longer than that.
Because then you're not as hungry.
I'm not as hungry and I'm not hurting my body. If the other aspect of that is people that they're just so starving during marathon training and they're just eating all the food. And there is something in between, right? We're not good at that in between.
Like, go hard or go home.
Yeah. We're not good at that in between. So try to find the in between, and you'll feel fine. And if you fuel properly, who cares if you gain a little bit of weight and you feel good? Like we all are for the most part, are in a pretty healthy range if you're running a lot of miles. Yeah. In a pretty healthy range. If you're not in a healthy range, then you got to work on that. But
don't do that.
We put so much pressure on that, and you're not necessarily going to run faster just because you're lighter. You're not.
Yeah. I can't imagine. I can't. I guess it's interesting because we were talking. It's easy. We want you to identify the mistakes you make so that you can then start correcting them. And this is definitely not one that I make. Like I've seen myself in many of these mistakes, but this one I'm just like, I can't imagine going out and exercising a lot as much as it takes to run a marathon and somehow also think that I need to restrict everything. I
have definitely made this mistake.
Yeah.
I am, as a running coach, there's a lot of pressure on me. I feel like I need to look a certain way. And I've gotten over that in my older age. I'm like, the way I look has nothing to do with how good I am as a coach. And I want to be healthy. Because it is when you restrict, you can really damage your body. And when you're damaging your body before menopause, like you're really going to get in trouble when you're going through menopause. So we want to be healthy. We want this to add to our life.
Yes,
and if we are restricting too much, it's going to be a detriment. And it will catch up to you eventually.
Yep. Yep. Okay. So,
this is the same exact thing, right?
So like not eating enough to support your goals, even if you're not training for that big 26.2. I mean, if you have a goal, you got to fuel it.
Yeah, I'm actually working with a nutrition coach right now who specializes in hormones because I am going through menopause. And it's so counterintuitive. And she has told me in the last 3 weeks, because I've gotten my calories up to 2,500.
Yeah, you were telling me that.
And it's killing me.
Feels like it sounds like a lot of food.
It's a lot of food. It's killing me. And I've gained a little bit of weight, but I feel amazing. And the goal is to heal my hormones from what's going on, right? And so I'm choosing healthy foods. And she said to me just the other day, she said, I was like, I feel so bloated and this is not me. And she was, I need you to be uncomfortable, Maria. Like, you need to be uncomfortable. What do you tell your clients? I tell my clients all the time. And sometimes like when you're running easy, it takes 2 years to like see the benefits of switching from running medium pace all the time to running easy, it takes a little time for your body to catch up and adapt. And that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm like catching up and adapting. And I was never a low calorie girl. I never did that. But even at 1900, I was surprised that running as much as I was, it's not enough calories. Like 1900 is not enough. So she'll say, if you want to run, you got to eat a little bit more. If you want to run. And I'm like, oh, I do want to run. I do really like to run. Can I run some more? So, yeah, I hope that we're almost done though. It's like
being uncomfortable is not fun.
Yeah, it's not fun. But if you want to get better and faster and run, sometimes we have to do things that make ourselves uncomfortable. And
that's not always making us feeling hard on the track. This is all the things.
Yeah, and this doesn't mean like if you're eating 1,900 calories, you should just go eat 2,600 calories. Like it's taken me a year to get there. You got to ease your metabolism up and like kind of play with it a little bit. Take an extra snack for a few weeks and then another extra snack for a few weeks and see if you see what you can do and actually, again, your body will tell you. Yeah. I feel amazing. I'm not as sore. I'm not tired. I don't get that afternoon tiredness anymore. I'm driving my husband crazy with chores at home because he's like, I don't know if I can take this Maria back again. But like, I just have so much energy. And that energy is your indication that you're eating enough. If you're tired all the time, you're not eating enough. Like even just a low level, and a lot of people be like, I'm just training a lot. That's just what it is. No.
Because you were even telling me, I mean, a 200 calorie deficit than what your body needs is not always the same for everybody. You know, but if you're just a little bit under, you probably won't even really necessarily feel hungry. Yeah. It'll just be that you're just not at peak performance in life or on the track.
Well, and running suppresses appetite. So a lot of times, especially when you're running in the heat, a lot of times we think, oh, I'm just intuitively eating, but if you're not hungry, that's your metabolism. Your metabolism is saying, I need more food. I need more food. You should be hungry. Like I am starving when I wake up in the morning. And actually, if you're hungry when you wake up in the morning, that's a good sign that your metabolism is running efficiently. If you're not hungry in the morning, that should be your warning sign to fix it. Fix your metabolism.
We have goals. We fuel them in all kinds of ways, but for running goals, fuel them for real.
Yeah, for real, not just for pretend.
Yeah, for real. All right, and this one, again, I think this one has come up in just about every one of the mistakes. So it is our number one, running too hard when you should be giving yourself the easy days.
Yeah. I can't say it enough. I mean, I say it all the time. I was talking to one of my runners this morning who's a new marathoner, and he's like, I said, he did 19 miles for the first time. Oof. And I was like, how did you feel? He goes, actually, I felt really great. It was long and boring, but like, I felt really great. I didn't have to take a nap. I was out until 11 o'clock. I'm like, ding, 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 ding. If you are running your long runs and you need a nap and you feel like crap the rest of your day, you ran that long run too hard. Now, that's not to say that if you don't, sometimes I give people prescribed long workouts. That's meant to be hard. But for the most part, when you're training and you're running easy, you shouldn't feel like you did anything. Like I've actually had people fire me over this. They'll be like, I just didn't feel like I did anything. Like I can't handle this. And I'm like, well, but the goal is to get better aerobic capacity and to keep running more miles. If you're running that easy, you can run a lot more miles.
And we have, again, if this is something that you're interested in, we did a whole episode with Dr. Fulham, Zone 2, and that's very, that's really
that's
super
difficult.
Easy. It's very difficult.
And I vacillate on that in Florida because it's very difficult to run Zone 2 in Florida.
But if it's a goal, it'll help you.
Yeah. It does help you like see that you need to slow down. A lot of times you're walking in Zone 2 in Florida. So that can be difficult. But the easy run feeling is actually awesome. On Saturday, I was running too fast and I could tell my heart rate was like kind of, and actually if you're talking on your long runs, your heart rate will be higher, just FYI. But I said to Luke, I was like, I need to slow down. Like, and he said, okay. And he said, why don't we try not talking for a little bit? And I focused on my breathing through my nose, like I tell everybody to do. My heart rate went down 10 beats per minute immediately. I'm like, wow. I mean, the dew point was 70.
really rough.
Yeah, and we're not used to it. So we have to slow our easy run pace down when that happens. But gosh, I felt so much better.
Yeah.
When we were done, I was like, oh my gosh, that was amazing.
And you got to enjoy nature without.
Yeah. I mean, I do like to talk. On a
I
run.
know.
It's
I
so
know.
fun.
But we all do. I've got a whole career based on it. But yes,
Yeah.
every now and then it is good to maybe sit and out, silence a little
And
bit.
don't beat yourself up so much. Like easy running, once you get it down, I mean, it's just so much better. It's so much more fun. I can't say it enough. Like it can make your running so much better.
And that was, again, usually at the beginning of every show, I say I met people who showed me what it was like. And the very first thing was, why are you running so fast? Like so I was like, oh, I don't know.
Good for them.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know. I'm just running. And then, so when I would get through with, whatever run I had run with them, I was like, I feel great. Because I had run slower. And do
you know how hard I've worked on that community, Leigh?
Yes, it was. Yes.
I love my community for that reason. Like here, when we have so many runners that follow me, everybody holds each other accountable to running slow.
Yeah.
Hey, you're speeding up. Coach would be mad. Let's pull it back. And I love that. Like I never see that ever. I'm like, I never see it. So it's nice to.
As someone who just popped in to the group that you had already created, it was great because I thought, well, this is super. I mean, I was almost like. Again, not knowing why they were running so slow, that was part of a bigger picture. I was like, yeah, I can do this. This is great. I can run longer time. And then I realized how much better I was. So again, I always am thankful for the change when I met this group.
Yeah, and again, it takes a while for this change to work. Like I think a lot of people give up before they see the change because it does. It's everything takes time. It's adaptation, it's patience, it's time and effort. If you learn it from the get-go, it's a lot easier. But,
it's all part of the bigger plan.
A bigger plan, the bigger journey, right? Like if you do it, you'll fall in love with the process, which is really the goal. Falling in love with the process is what keeps us out there. And
then when you have those hard runs, then you look forward to them because you're like, okay, I've been building up. I've been running these little slow miles every day, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to hit this hard.
Yeah,
and so
you're ready to do it.
It gives you them both bring you joy. The slow miles bring you joy because they're easy and fun, and then you get the sort of that adrenaline rush of doing something hard.
And please brag about your slow runs. I love it.
How slow?
Just brag about it.
So those were the top 8, but Maria also has her coach's drill, and so which is going to be.
A lot of Maria talking.
A lot of Maria. No, it's okay because this was about coaches. So with coach's drill today, you ready?
Yes.
Maria gets 1 minute to talk, and we're talking about take that rest day.
So this is like number 9 on my list of things I see that are big common mistakes. At least take 1 rest day a week. So many people fight the rest day, and actually it's so important for your body, and it's in like a complete rest day. If you have more than one that are like lower, then you can a walk is never going to hurt you. You can go for a walk on your easy run, but I wouldn't do more than a walk. Like even like no more than 30 minutes. Like you really just want to rest, let your body recoup, let your hormones do what they're supposed to rebuild you so you can be stronger. And with that comes a recovery week. Take a recovery week every once in a while. Like don't go hard all the time, or it's gonna bite you in the butt. So don't fear the rest day, please. Don't
fear the reaper. Don't fear the rest day.
Yeah, like I feel like you've made it in life when you actually enjoy your rest day.
Yeah.
Like I used to fight it all the time, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, I worked hard enough that I deserve a rest day.
Yeah. And then that helps your sleep.
It does help your sleep.
You get to sleep. You get the extra time to sleep for that day, and sort of help to overall give you a better life balance,
better life balance.
Yeah.
I think it's important too. Like if you don't have a significant other that's doing this, make that be your significant other day. You know what I mean? Like sleep in with them. Like, because we don't sleep in. We get up early, we run. Like make that be the day that you do something special with the person that's supporting you, because it can be tough on a marriage or a partnership when we're out pounding the pavement all the time. So try to breakfast in bed.
Yeah.
Like try to make your, rest days kind of sacred.
I definitely like my rest days.
Yeah, I know. You're good about that. You're very good about
my
it.
Sunday, really, if anyone asked me to do something on a Sunday for the entire 24 hours, I'm like, it's my rest day. For sure, I can't do that. So
I have a runner that actually tracks her steps and tries to keep it under 3,000.
That's good.
She tries to keep it under 3,000 on a rest day, which people think is crazy. Like, because the whole world is telling us walk. We do plenty.
We had 17,000 on Thursday. I can take 3 on a Sunday. Yeah, so.
Or foam roll, or do the unsexy stuff like foam roll or stretch, or don't go and do a lot of times people will do Bikram yoga hard on. I'm like, that's not a rest day. Like, do restorative yoga. That could be a rest day.
But rest.
It's okay.
All right, y'all. Those were the mistakes. If you saw yourself in any of them, now it's time to work on those. And
no shaming.
No shaming, because of the 9, I saw myself in a lot of them. I think I mentioned the ones that I didn't that I didn't see myself in, because those were the few that I didn't see myself.
Well, I'm pretty sure, I hope that some of my old coaches aren't watching this, because they're going to be like, okay, Maria.
You did all of them as well. So, all right. Well, thank you guys thank you, Maria, for letting us know about the running mistakes that we've all made, and that it is okay.
And if you have any questions, reach out on Strava.
Yep. All right. We'll see you guys next week. Have a great one.